This is part 4 of our lesson on sine and cosine law practice. And this is actually our last video lesson of the entire year. So for those of you that made it this far and have been working really hard every day and watching all of the lessons and doing all of your practice, awesome job. Be proud of yourself. I know I feel proud that I managed to record 3 months worth of lessons. It's been a lot of work for both of us. So in our last question, we are going to try to solve for angle x in this triangle. So first thing I want to do is try to decide whether we want to use sine law or cosine law. So if I take a look at the question, in order to use sine law, you need to know an angle and an opposite side. So I do have an angle x here, and the side across from it's 5, but I don't actually know angle x, so I can't really use sine law for that. But here, I do have that 113 degrees and the 11 centimeters across from it, so I do have an angle and an opposite side, which means I am going to use sine law for this question. So once I know that I want to use sine law, I'm going to label angles A, B, and C and sides A, B, and C. I always let A be an angle in the question. So if you are specifically solving for an angle like this, I would always let that one be the A. You can still solve if you let this one be the A. It will still work out. It just means you're going to have your x on the right-hand side of the equation instead of the left-hand side of the equation. So if this is A, I'm going to maybe let this be B and this one be C. And then across from angle A is side A. Across from angle B is side B. And across from angle C is side C. Now I do notice that I don't know anything about angle C or side C, so I am not going to use C. I'm going to use A and B. So I'm going to write down my formula, which is sine A over A equals sine B over B. So I'm going to substitute in all the things that I know. So angle A is x, so I have sine of x divided by side A is 5 equals sine of B, which is 113 degrees, over side B, which is 11. My next step, whenever I'm using sine law, is to cross multiply. So I do 11 times sine x equals 5 times sine of 113. Oops. Now, from here, I could start working things out. I could do 5 times sine of 113, but over here, I can't work out sine of x since I don't know what x is, and I already know that 11 is 11. This is not sine of 11, by the way. It's 11 times sine of x. So I think I'm going to do one more step before I use my calculator, and that is that I'm going to divide both sides by 11, since the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I get sine x equals, so 5 times sine of 113 and then divided by 11 gives me 0.418411297. And then at this point, I want to try to get rid of just a sign. It's not sine with a number. This is not sine times x, this is sine of x. So to cancel out the sign, I do the inverse sine. Now, some people just try to remember that whenever you're calculating an angle, we always have to use the inverse sine, and when you're calculating a side, you do not. I just remember when the sign is by itself, that's when I use the inverse sine. If the sign is with a number, like up here in this question, we had sine with the number 40. That was something we could calculate, so we calculated the number and then we just divided it to the other side. So I'm going to take the number that is still on my calculator. I'm going to do inverse sine, and I get 24.73. The next digit is a 4, so that's going to stay 73. So x equals approximately 24.73, and that is – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 – 1 Okay, and those are all of our examples today on sine law and cosine law practice. It's now your turn to go and do some practice on your own.